Today I would like to address two challenges critical to securing our future. First, enhancing human protection. Second, advancing sustainable development. Let me start with the news of today, the act of Arab Spring, and most importantly, Syria. The past year was a watershed for the responsibility to protect principle and turning back the tide of atrocity and crime. Tens of thousands of lives were saved in Côte d'Ivoire and in Libya. Diplomacy turned the corner in Yemen, and much of the Arab Spring proceeded peacefully. It may not be well understood or appreciated just yet, but we are seeing an evolution in global governance. We are seeing the power of partnership, of regional organizations leading to get global results. In Côte d'Ivoire, the call for change was led mainly by ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, and African Union. In Libya, it was a coalition of League of Arab States, African Union, and Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, because the United Nations involved. In more and more crisis zones, global and regional institutions are pushing in the same direction, in close consultation and coordination. This is a true multilateralism for a multilateral age. I believe sometimes it's quite amazing that our founding fathers of the United Nations had that chapter 8 where the United Nations should closely work together with the regional organizations. But at that time, they were not the organizations, regional organizations. These days, United Nations cannot perform properly our functions without working together with regional organizations. We are working very closely with ASEAN, one of the most exemplary regional organizations in Asia. This is the beginning of reshaping of the political landscape for the 21st century, and perhaps even a readjustment of power politics within the broader United Nations, within the broader international community. Look no further than Syria. The Arab League and the United Nations have forged a new partnership by appointing Joint Special Envoy, my predecessor Kofi Annan. His mission is clear and concrete. First, to secure a stop to violence, any violence, all violence, and to initiate a political dialogue such that the government and opposition begin working toward a political resolution. Third, in the face of growing humanitarian crisis, to gain an unhindered humanitarian access. So far, Mr. Annan has met twice the President Assad of Syria. He has dispatched a team of experts who are working together with the Syrian authorities at this time, as I'm speaking. At the same time, teams of international relief experts from the United Nations organization, OCHA, and the OIC, Islamic Cooperation, are working with their counterparts from Syrian government to determine the country's humanitarian needs. For too long, the international community has been divided. That is why the presidential statement of the Security Council, which was adopted unanimously 2 days ago, is most welcome. The presidential statement said unequivocally that it calls on the government of Syria to cooperate fully with my special envoy, Mr. Annan's mission. As the situation on the ground continues to deteriorate, it's more urgent than ever to find the resolution of this issue. I hope that this strong and united action by the Security Council will mark a turning point in the international community's response to the crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, in a larger sense, when it comes to enhancing human protection, I believe there are many lessons to learn from this region. Take your response to natural response. In recent years, two of the strongest earthquakes of the recent centuries struck Asia Pacific. The resulting tsunamis destroyed the whole communities and killed hundreds of thousands of people. After the December 2004 tsunami in Southeast Asia, the region and the world came together. We applied resources and the latest technology to anticipate and respond to these natural threats to our people and our economies. Early warning systems were adopted. Evacuation plans were also put in place. The human toll from last year's devastating earthquake and tsunami in Japan was about 1/10 that of the similar magnitude events of 7 years before. As the unprecedented damage to the Fukushima nuclear power plant underscored, however, even the most advanced countries are vulnerable to nature's wrath. Clearly, disaster preparedness and early warning systems make a great difference. They require national capacity building plus regional and global collaborations to meet a common threat. To meet the needs of each population and each country in the region, leaders of the sovereign states chose to work together on a common plan rather than going it alone. That is practical sovereignty at work. We must apply these lessons on meeting natural disasters in cases of man-made disasters. Specifically, we must explore the possibilities of regional and global collaboration in preventing mass atrocity crimes. After all, violence, like water, comes in waves. Here too, early warning and assessment are essential. We need to feel the earthquakes while within fragile societies and see the social and political tsunamis they produce before they gain unstoppable momentum. Neighbors can be of immense help in identifying and mediating such problems at an early stage. We need your local knowledge, sober assessment, and wise counsel. I know the ASEAN Regional Forum and its Council for Security Cooperation in the Asia Pacific is working to produce fresh ideas to emerging challenges. I'm pleased to learn that it recently produced a consensus report on implementing the responsibility to protect. This is quite encouraging one. The recommendation to establish a risk reduction center in Southeast Asia that could work with the United Nations and our joint office on genocide prevention and the responsibility to protect is most promising. Ladies and gentlemen, since I am in the region, let me also add a word on Myanmar. Like all of you, I am encouraged by recent steps taken by the government of President Thein Sein. I have visited Myanmar twice as Secretary General, and I am going to visit Myanmar soon, most probably next month. My special advisors have traveled there many times. I have chaired a group of friends of Myanmar many times to keep these issues on our collective radar screen and to help bridge different views. The role of Asian nations, particularly ASEAN, has been instrumental in supporting international engagement in Myanmar and political reform. Whether it was through quiet diplomacy or more open diplomacy, I have been working diligently and consistently alongside Myanmar. Our collective work, the consolidated engagement of all partners, has helped lay the foundation for change in Myanmar. We must continue as Myanmar is going to assume the chairmanship of ASEAN 2014. Myanmar still faces many challenges and will need our support along the way. With respect to another regional issue in Asia, I'm very troubled and very deeply concerned by the announcement of Democratic People's Republic of Korea to launch a so-called application satellite next month. This is a clear violation of Security Council resolution, particularly 1874, which prohibits any launch using the ballistic missile technology. Such an act would undermine recent positive diplomatic progress and, in its effect on international donors, would likely worsen the humanitarian situation inside the country. I have spoken myself to Chinese, Americans, and Russians and urged them to exercise their influence to persuade the DPRK to reconsider its decision. And I'm going to engage myself on a bilateral basis in Seoul while attending this nuclear security summit. Ladies and gentlemen, in the end, the global effort to achieve sustainable peace requires sustainable development. You know this well. This is your history. It's the core of your success. Singapore was one of a poor fishing village. Now you are now a prosperous global city. As a densely populated small island, you have shown leadership on issues of climate change and sustainable development and water scarcity issues. Once again, you are an example for all of us. Singapore may be a little red dot on the map, but our planet itself is a pale blue dot in the galaxy. We desperately need to think and act together to build a sustainable future. We are now less than 100 days before world leaders meet in Rio de Janeiro to discuss about this sustainable development. In the next 20 years, the world will need at least 50% more food, 45% more energy, and 30% more water. To address these challenges, we need to think again and act in an integrated way. We have to address these issues from a broader perspective, in an integrated and more comprehensive way. Food, water, energy security are inextricably linked and must be pursued together. Earlier this month, as you are already aware, World Bank has announced that the world has met the target of cutting by half the proportion of people living in extreme poverty. They also assessed that we have been able to cut in half the proportion of people who do not have access to safe drinking water. These are major achievements. But we have much more to do to meet the targets of Millennium Development Goals by 2015. I look forward to visiting the Dew Water Complex here in Singapore later this afternoon to see all what you have been achieving. In a wider sense, the international institutional architecture for sustainable development needs to be improved. That's why I have urged the governments to consider fresh ways to integrate 3 pillars of sustainable development: environmental, social, and economic. There is some perception gap that people have tendency to believe that this sustainable development is only for environment, but we have to address all economic and social pillars altogether comprehensively. We need to bring together all relevant actors. In addition to national governments, we need the active involvement of civil society, the private sector, and the scientific community. And we must fully utilize the tremendous energy and initiative of the world's women and young people. All of this is critical to promoting the well-being of humanity while preserving the planet for future generations. This is critical to securing our future. Ladies and gentlemen, we have big challenges before us. But being here in Singapore, I cannot help but be optimistic. We are at an inflection point for Asia and our world. The rise of new powers, the emergence of new technologies, the growing engagement and empowerment of people, all are combining to give us more tools to secure our future. Singapore is at the frontier of this new era. You are a nation that continues to be at the leading edge of innovation and change. You continue to show the way to building a tolerant society where different races, ethnicities, religions, and culture coexist in peace and harmony. You may be limited in your geographical borders, but you are showing there is no limit to creativity, possibility, and imagination. Let us harness that energy and work together for sustainable peace, sustainable development, and a secure future for all. Let us work together to build a better world for all. And I thank you for your leadership and commitment, and thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.